good evening, everybody. It is Taja Morris, and tonight we are live for our Thursday tips and tools. This is the space I call it's like Soul Food Sunday, the conversations that are necessary to happen around the table, the tools that will help us level up personally and professionally. And tonight we are talking about complex trauma with a complex trauma survivor, Sheri Waters, and I'm super excited for her to be sharing her testimony and helping to give us tips and tools on how we can navigate this space. So thank you all for joining and tuning in this week. I'm super excited to be back and back on the agenda. If you are new here to Sisters with the Agenda, this is our space for people of color to come together to level up personally and professionally. And the way we do that in a multiple different ways. We start our week off with Motivational Monday, and that is a day for any community programs or community activists that would like to share a motivational message to help us get started in our week. Tuesdays, we go live for Testimony Tuesday, and that is our space where we come together to share our personal testimony, to talk about where we're at with tackling life, a space for us to release, reflect, and celebrate amongst the village. Because in order for us to level up personally and professionally, we have to start unpacking the traumas, the hurt, the pain, and stop suffering in silence so that we can reach our full potential and take back our power. We See You Wednesday is the day we come together to spotlight the village. This is our day where we come together to shine light on all of the great things that is happening amongst our village, to spotlight different women and men amongst our village who are doing wonderful things and leveling up personally and professionally. It's also a day for you all to nominate somebody that you feel like in your life deserves to be spotlighted and recognized. So if you have a guest, make sure y'all definitely tap them in. And then Thursday is our Thursday tips and tools. This is where we come get the resources so we can continue to work on those personal and professional goals. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Chop, you can go ahead and send in a request and I'll invite you in. And then Black Business Friday is our day where we come together to spotlight Black business, promote and advertise Black businesses, and allow Black businesses to talk about their mission, their message, and their journey through business. As we continue to build our business and we continue to level up, it's so important for us to share information and also just talk about the journey and help you grow your platform. Sisters with the Agenda is all about amplifying your mission, your message, and your story. So I'm super excited tonight to help this sister do just that and help you all get some tips, tools, and information on complex trauma. That's what. So good evening, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Good evening, sis.
Great evening.
How you feeling tonight?
I feel amazing. How are you?
I'm good, tired, excited. It's so many things going on right now. I don't even know how I'm feeling. I'm super excited. Tomorrow, I will be taking flight to Minneapolis.
That's
Just thinking
great.
about gracing the stage in another state is just the honor. And I haven't, I mean, I have embraced the feelings, but I think the closer it gets, it really is not hitting me until I'm actually on that flight. So I'm super excited for this opportunity. I'm super excited to be able to share space with you all as we continue to help the village level up. So Sheri, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let them know all the wonderful things that you do. And then talk about why we are talking about complex trauma tonight.
Okay, so my name is Sheri Waters. I am a 32-year-old woman. I am a native of Philadelphia. I am a mother. I am an aspiring author, motivational speaker, and complex trauma and survivor. Complex trauma describes children's experiences with multiple traumas and the long-term effects of those traumas. So growing up, I've experienced traumas, including rape, molestation, abandonment, physical, emotional abuse. I've experienced loss of a child. Um, just those traumas alone, growing up with those traumas, made me someone who was very aggressive. I didn't know what love was, so I didn't know how to love. You know, they say hurt people, so that's what I was doing. My first trauma that I actually encountered, I was 5 years old. I remember It was a situation where my father had custody of us, and I was in a kindergarten, and I was at school, and the girls' bathroom was broke. So all the girls had to go to the boys' bathroom. Mind you, the teachers, everyone was there. Um, but when my dad came to pick me up, all the girls was in the bathroom, the boys' bathroom, and he didn't like it. So when I got home, like he beat me so bad, he smacked me. I had a handprint across my face. That was the
Mm.
first time that I really remember experiencing abuse. The first time I experienced any type of molestation, um, I was living in Atlantic City at this time, only for a short amount of time, but I remember my older brother used to touch me in ways I didn't like. And I used to tell him to stop, and I used to tell my mom, but she was a drug addict. So she was addicted to crack. And she really didn't have the capacity to understand or to protect me. So it was just like, free range on me. My brother, he lived in the house with me. So it wasn't much that I could do. So my first actual, sexual trauma started with my brother. Um, Years later, living with my grandmother, my uncle molested. Um, I remember just feeling so unprotected, just so hurt, feeling that it was my fault that it was happening. Just being a young girl who was overly mature with my body. Like my body was like way beyond my years. So that wasn't the only time that I was sexually abused. My cousin's baby father raped me in the bed with two of my cousins. Let me rewind it. So when I was experiencing the molestation with my uncle, I ran away. I was in the 7th grade. I dropped out of school and I ran away
Mm.
because my grandma told me, if you leave my house again, don't come back. And it was never a conversation that was had with her about why I was running away. And really, I also thought that my grandma knew because the way that our house was set up, the girls' room was right next to her room. So when he would come in my room, I would feel like, you're woke. You're woke. There's no way you can't see him coming into my room. So I really had developed some type of trust issues with women, because of my grandma. And I ran away. So when I ran away, I was like basically homeless, 13 years old, homeless. Well, I was 12 at
Yeah.
the time. I was 12 years old. I was homeless. I was sleeping on like park benches, anywhere that I could sleep. And I had this one favorite aunt, right? She was like the aunt who always cooked. Like whenever I would go to my dad's side of the family, like I would love going to her house. Like she showed me so much love. Like one of the aunts that I felt like showed me love, that made me feel like I was part of the family because I never felt like I was even part of my family. So while I was homeless, I would go to her house on certain days because I know she would cook and stuff like that. And she would always give me food. And when I didn't have a place to stay or I didn't want to sleep outside, I would sneak and stay at her house. And this particular night, um, I guess she found out that I was sneaking to stay at her house, and she called my dad. And when my dad came near, it wasn't like a conversation like what's wrong, what's going on, none of that. He just immediately started beating me. He grabbed me by my neck and threw me around. I still have like the scars on my neck from it. And he just like beat me real bad. And I was, going through it, and my aunt stopped him, and she allowed me to stay there that night. And that night, my cousin baby father, when everyone was asleep, he came into the room and he raped me. So from that day on, I left there and I didn't go back there. Um, I ultimately started staying with my kid's father at the age of 13. I was 13 years old. I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I started staying there, and ultimately became a teen mom. Became a mom at 14 years old. Um, I didn't know who I was. I had no identity. I was an empty shell. And the only thing I knew was that I had to become a mother. I had to be a mother. So I had to put on my big girl drawers and be a mother, but yeah, and still being a mother still didn't teach me to heal. So I was a hurt woman raising children. And you know what that causes? It causes us to bleed on our children. So I found myself bleeding on my children, showing them the pain from the traumas that I've encountered. And I knew that that wasn't how I wanted to live my life. I knew that that wasn't the way that I wanted my kids to grow up. You know, experiencing that hurt, it puts so much shame and guilt, hurt, you know, hopelessness. These are all the things that I felt growing up. And all that complex trauma, you know, squeezed into one little person. It only takes that one push of a button for that person to explode. And before I filmed this, before I began my PD journey, that's where I was. I was one step away from blowing up. You know, I was filled with nothing but hurt and pain. I wasn't getting any love, any attention. You know, all I knew was hurt. I lived in survival mode, you know, which a lot of us are living in. You know, we aren't fully living. We don't know how to live. So we're just in survival mode on a daily basis, you know, and I feel like each time like I was molested or I was raped, it it took something from me. You know, it took another piece from me, a piece of my identity, a piece of the person that I was supposed to be. And until recently, it wasn't until recently that I noticed or I was brought present to the fact that I, you know, I am enough. You know, everything that I need is inside of me. You know, those people that took those pieces from me, those pieces they took from me, I no longer need anyway. So it doesn't matter, you know. So I just grew up in turmoil and trauma. And a lot of the children that's growing up today, even us as adults, we're traumatized. We're living in a traumatized environment, you know? And when we're living and we're brought up in a traumatized environment, we can't become whole if we don't know how to. So my whole life I was searching for this how because I knew I could be better. I knew that I could be different. I wanted to be better. I wanted to be different, but I didn't know how, you know? So that made me feel stuck. And being stuck, feeling hurt, feeling shame, feeling guilt, all in one, that can be very detrimental to a person, you know, to their character. And I believe that's the road I was heading down. Even as a mother, you know, we feel like sometimes our kids are supposed to save us from all the hurt and all the pain. But as a mother, I was still heading down that road of destruction. And it's because I didn't recognize how to heal from certain things. And it wasn't until I found out how that I began the journey to find myself and become whole.
Yeah, I think it's so important when we start tagging and naming things. When you can name something, then you can put the right tools to which you need to unpack and release those things. So, where did you learn about complex trauma? Even though that was something you was experiencing, when did you learn about complex trauma?
I didn't learn about complex trauma until I started researching my characteristics. And I started researching why I act the way I act. Why am I so aggressive? Um, and the exact thing I believe that I looked up, I researched was how does people who experience multiple traumas act? And a lot of the characteristics, a lot of when I say it read me like a book, it read me like a book. So it was just like, you know, this is the start of it. You know, this you finally have a name to what it is that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
You know, because when we, like you said, when we don't know, that's when we like, you know, what is going on? Like we be so stuck until we find that we put a name to it, and then I believe that's when we can start, you know, start on that journey to healing it, that certain thing. And it's like when I experience those traumas, every time I experience a different trauma, it turned me into a different person.
Right.
And I feel like I still would be on that road. I am still on that road because I'm still every day becoming a better person, a different person. But I'm no longer on that road to destruction. I'm on the road to become whole. And that's all because I figured out, I brought present to myself what exactly it was that I was going.
Yeah. I think it's like when we go to the doctors, right? And you're trying to figure out what is this, like a cold, right? You can cough, but that cough can be a lot of different things, right?
Right.
And you might not know how to treat that cough if you don't know exactly where does it come from. Is it a virus? Is it, just a sickness or whatever the case may be? You have to go and figure it out in order to figure out what direction you can go in. And I think that's important when it comes to dealing with trauma and dealing with like your hurt and your pain, because a lot of times, like you said, it has compiled into so many different behaviors. You don't even know where to start. So sometimes for me, and that's why I love Thursday Tips and Tools, is like we can talk about our testimonies, but then we got to get the tools to be able to really unpack it, right? We can talk about our personal growth, and you probably had plenty of jobs that helped you be successful, be sustainable, but there was still this emptiness and there was still this hurt in you, which then impacts you in the work field as well. So I
True.
think,
There's no way you can reach your highest capacity if you don't heal. If you don't try to become your best self, there's no way that you can be successful in anything. Not in in no type of relationship, in a work
yeah.
relationship, home, even with your children. Is no way. It's no way. And experiencing so many traumas, it just puts you in a space where um, you don't know where to go. You know what I'm saying? You feel stuck, because I'm someone who experienced sexual trauma by men and women, so it just leaves you, distrust and, a whole lot of self-hate, so if you don't know what you're going through and you don't know how to fix it, you won't have no type of success in your life. And I can be attest to that, because anytime that I had any type of let's say I was doing Herbalife, and when I first got into it, I dropped in a lot of pounds, but the praise was nothing to me. I was smiling, thank you, but I was an empty shell. I couldn't receive it, which, made me revert back to the old habits, made me gain a little bit of weight back, and I could never be successful in any areas of my life until I fix what's inside of me.
And I love that you said about that relationship piece, because that was like a driving force behind Sisters with the Agenda. Like you said, everything is relationship. Your relationship with your money, your relationship with your family, your relationship with coworkers, and all of those things are impacted when you don't have that personal development, right? You talked about PD. When you don't have that personal development and you're not willing to unpack those deep, dark things, because for you to share your testimony and come on here, first of all, you share within 20 minutes and I didn't even get to ask you a question, but that's that willingness to say, I'm not living in this shame, because I know when I'm holding on to it, it's only causing more damage and more hurt, right? When I'm able to release it, when I'm able to talk about it, when I'm able to put a name to it, then I'm able to start to see my growth, and I'm able to start to see my development. I'm able to start to see what tools are going to work for me. So when you first started to unpack these traumas, what was the first step you did outside of the research? After you found out that information about yourself, what was like the first thing that you started to do? And what was that experience like?
So the first thing that I started to do was I first started to actually and wholeheartedly love. Like, that's where I had to start. I had to start to love myself. I had to pour into myself all the love that I was giving everyone else. I had to realize that I was deserving of love, and the quality of love that I was going to get was the quality of love that I gave myself.
Mm.
First had to learn how to love myself.
How was that for you?
Oh, it was you know, it's a hard journey because, you know, when you start to love yourself, you know, you start to really realize who you are. You know, becomes a lot of self-reflection, you know, a lot of self-awareness, you know, a lot of just being real with yourself, a whole lot of realness, you know, and loving yourself, you know, is loving your whole self, loving the good parts about you, loving that little dark side that you have, embracing it, you know, embracing your flaws, you know, knowing that your flaws aren't really flaws. They are just little things that make you so unique, you know, just those affirmations, being able to sit in my room or sit and look into a mirror and actually say, I love myself. Like,
Mm.
I love you. Like, you know, to actually be able to sit and say that and to believe it and to feel it and to know that me telling myself that I love myself is enough. Like, I don't have to look for no other love. Like, you know, like when I realized that, it was a whole different ball game. It was just a whole different ball game. The love that you give yourself, it fuels the love you're able to pour out. You
Yeah.
know, loving yourself, that's where it started. I had to begin to love myself.
And I love that you started there. And you said it was amazing and you said it was hard. And I just like to I'm a very honest and transparent person, right? Because it may be somebody on here that's starting that journey right now. And those moments when it got hard, sometimes we start to be a self-critic. But I think when you have that reminder that this is about the love that you want for yourself, that's what's going to pull you out of it. When times got hard for you on the journey, how did you keep yourself focused? How did you keep yourself going? And what was like that moment when you felt like you was ready to give up?
Um, the how I felt when it was hard in the beginning, in the beginning stages of it, I just felt like I don't want to do it. You know, I don't want this the self-reflection. You know, I don't want to have to look at myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to, you know, feel the shame. I don't want to feel the guilt. You know, it was so at that point it was just so easy for me to say, you know what, I'm just ready to give up. You know what I'm saying? Because going through all those trauma, rape, molestation, you know, it it really do something to you. It really, I can say it hardens your heart. You know, it changed the makeup of your mind. You know, trust it really does a lot to you. So when you looking at yourself and you like, dang, I let that happen. Dang, I ain't say nothing. I was weak. You know, now that I'm on this self-love journey and I gotta look at myself, I gotta look at the fact that yes, I was raped, I was molested. You know, I at the beginning I felt shame, but you know, keep going on that journey, keep walking on that journey, and not giving up. You know, now it's days still get hard. I can say that days still get hard, but I snap out of it way quicker now. You know, I can give myself that self talk, you know, that positive self talk. You know, I learned how to talk to myself in a positive manner, you know, not just, you know, finding my flaws, but, you know, really pointing out my strengths. So I
Yeah.
think I have to revert back to when the journey gets hard, you know, reverting back to, you know, I'm sitting in the car earlier on my way to get my kids, listening to my gospel, and I'm like, you know, came so far. Like, you know, I cannot give up now. Like, I cannot. I think that's one of my favorite songs by Mary Mary. I can't give up now. That song has been on since I was
Yeah.
yay high, 10, 11.
Yep.
Those words are true.
Hmm.
And I've come too far to give up. I've endured too much pain to let it all be, you know, in vain. You know,
Yeah.
so whenever I'm on that journey and it's getting hard, you know, I revert back to the pain I feel now versus the pain I was feeling then. You know, what I'm
Right.
saying? I look at who I was then to who I am now, you know, and it just be like, you know what? Yeah, I went through that. Yeah, it hurt, but dang, look at you now. Look at who you are. You know, that's just, you know, when it get hard, I just look at where I am now.
And that's a beautiful feeling. I know for me, I'm gonna be honest, my hardest thing was looking at myself in the mirror. Even like in this journey of me coming on the live, I did not like looking at myself. I used to have 3, 4, 5 mirrors around me because I think self-reflection was always a thing for me, and I was able to self-reflect, and I wasn't so hard on myself. Like, I accepted things, but for me it was like, wow, Teddy, you're so confident. How you don't like looking in the mirror? How you don't like looking at yourself and really loving yourself and being able to like look at yourself in the mirror? And like, I probably now, if somebody told me to do it, it probably would still feel a little weird. And I just, again, want to touch on those points because, you know, the healing journey is so beautiful, but it is very hard. For you, when did you start to build a village around you to help you on this journey? Because so many times, the reason why I started Sisters with Agenda is because so many times I started on this journey by myself, and I found myself going back to the old ways. But once I was able to get a village and really be honest and really be transparent, which is one of the reasons why I started the lives in my testimony Tuesday, is because I'm like, I need a level of accountability, right? I'm always big on integrity. So if I show up for you all, I got to show up for myself. There has been people who spoke about things that I wasn't ready to talk about. But if we're talking about it, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to talk about it, which helped me on this journey of really releasing and being honest. So how important for you when dealing with complex trauma was it to build that village, especially with the hurt coming from so many people close to you?
So for me, it was really hard because, you know, growing up like that, I was so guarded. You know, I didn't really trust people. You know, I wasn't really like into, you know, the cliques, or I didn't want to be in groups. Like I was standoffish, introvert. You know, that was me. But it wasn't until I started realizing that I made a difference.
Mm.
I realized that my story really matters, you know, until, you know, I got those DMs where women will tell me, you know, I've been through the same things, but I can't speak it. You know, thank you for being my voice. You know, I matter. I have a purpose. You know, that's when I really realized how important it is to have a village. You know, you can't do it all alone, you know, and when you come as a village instead of as an individual, the impact is just so much more stronger. And I feel like
Mm.
I had to know that I had a purpose. I had to know that I was powerful, you know, enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm powerful enough to stand alone. I'm powerful enough to be in a village, you know what I'm saying, and still have my individuality, you know. And that's what a lot of it was, you know, I worked so hard to be who I am. I worked so hard to be who I am. I didn't want to feel like I was being tainted by anybody else. So when I had that was just something I had to let go of when I had dig more into the personal development. You know, so when I realized that, like, you could be you in a group, you know, you could flourish, you can, you know, bring women along on a journey, even men, you know what I'm saying? It's no sex to a person where they, you know, they need that candle lit, you know what I'm saying? Male, female, we all need our candle lit sometimes. So, you know, just feeling like I had a purpose. I'm giving voice to those who feel like they can't speak their pain. You know, they can't speak their traumas, you know, but just hearing somebody else release it, sometimes it gives other people, you know, just so much comfort. So
Yeah.
I feel like I had to find my purpose first. And you know what I'm saying? And find out that my purpose give other people purpose. And that makes me want to, you know, be a strong part of that village. So
And I think that is powerful. I need you all to drop some flowers for our sets because I think that is so powerful. When you can say that I know my purpose is more important than my hurt and my pain and my guardedness, right? When you feeling guarded, that's something hard, especially when you're hurt by the people that birthed you or that's in your bloodline, and to be able to say, hey, I'm ready to rebuild my village because I have a purpose, and that purpose is so impactful that I can't just close myself off. Like, this healing process is not just for me. This growth is not just for me. Even my pain is not just for me. And to be able to say, like, I'm purposeful and I'm powerful enough to stand in my truth, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want our village to understand, that once we are able to stand in our truth, nobody can steal your power. I was that kid, like in high school. I'm like, I'm going to sit here and tell you all my business, so can't nobody talk about me because I done already told y'all. Ain't no shame in what I did. I told you what I did. You get what I'm saying? But there's so much power in that. So many of us are suffering in silence because we're in shame. We are so shameful of the things that happen to us or the things that we've been through that we hide in the corner, not knowing that once you speak life to it, and like you said, there's so many people feeling like they don't have that voice. And, I always think about used to being in that space and feeling like that child that wanted to cry because your mom said you couldn't have something and you get that knot in your throat. That's how it feels when you lose your voice and you want to speak on something, but you refuse to just release it. When you feel that knot in the voice, guys, I need y'all to release that. Speak it out loud. It's one thing to write it in the journal, but it's so much different when you're able to speak it out loud and just release it. That's when the journey will begin, right? But again, it's not easy. But there is so many people that's here to support you. There's so many spaces to be able to support you. It doesn't have to be on social media. There's so many circles. There's so many support systems. There's a one-off situation. If you want to find those people, like I said, I jumped out here and created a whole platform. And that was because I needed people that I wanted to find that was going to be my village. So for you, when it comes to complex trauma, how do you use your story as an advocate? What are some of the things that you have done in the community, or even like with your children? Experiencing these different things and learning about complex trauma and being able to, be an advocate for it.
So, just starting with my kids. Well, let me just start with my family, because I'm a essential part of keeping my family together. I'm the oldest girl. I keep my brothers and my sisters together. You know, um, just being a teen mom, right? Raising teen daughters is amazing to see how they love on themselves, and it's because of the way that I've begun to love on myself. You know, um, my daughters, they have this confidence that I didn't have at their age. I look at them. My youngest daughter is 13. I was going through so much at the age of 13. I didn't have no confidence. I didn't love myself. I didn't. I hid. I hid in the closet. I hid in the back.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? My daughter, she gonna step to the front of the room. You gonna notice my daughter. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna notice her smile. You're gonna notice her confidence. You know what I'm saying? As well as my oldest daughter. At 15, I was broken. You know what I'm saying? I was broken. I was in a place where I didn't want to live no more. I just felt so alone, so ashamed to be me. And my daughter, my 15-year-old, she is a powerhouse. You know, and that's all with speaking life to myself. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that they don't see when I'm down, because they see every tear that I cry.
mm,
But you know what they also see? When I wipe them tears and I get back up. And some of those days, they're the ones that wipe my tears. So it's like it's the showing them when you fall down, you get back up. And how I love on myself is me getting back up. And as long as I'm a visual of that with my girls, with my kids, you know what I'm saying? Even my son, my 11-year-old, amazing. You know what I'm saying? He got goals. 11-year-old,
mm,
he got goals. At 11-year-old, I was just wishing I could make it. Wishing that somebody
mm,
loved me. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted somebody to love me, you know, but me loving on myself and, you know, developing, you know, personally development and getting to where I need to be mentally, it gives them a chance.
Yeah.
Gives them a chance, you know, because they got somebody that's going to love them. I'm going to love them. You know what I'm saying? They got somebody that's going to show them how to be confident, because I am confident. And I'm going to show them, you know what I'm saying, how to get through those emotions. You know what I'm saying? All those things I didn't have as a kid, you know, I am that for them because I was able to put a name to what I was going through and begin to fix.
Yeah.
You know, so even in the community, I'm just trying to get out here and show my journey. I want to show my traumas. I want to show my pain, but I also want to show my healing and show how I became whole. Because there's so many people out here that out like I was. They want to do better. They want to be better. They want to get better. These kids don't want to be stuck. You know what I'm saying? These preteen, these young adults, they don't want to be stuck. They don't want to. They don't want to keep hurting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they don't know the how. And that was my problem. I didn't know the how. So what I'm doing out here in the communities, I'm just getting out here and I'm teaching the how. I want to be a visual representation of the how. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm just, you know, loving on these kids, my friends' kids, you know, anybody kids I just love kids. You know, I love young adults. I love to see people prosper. I love to see people persevere. And what we are in a traumatized environment, these kids, they need it. These young adults, they need it. You know, people my age, people older than me, they need it. So I just feel like it's my duty to be in a community and show them that there is no trauma, there is no hurt, there is no pain, there is no person that can keep you from being who you're meant to be.
Yes. That is, and I think that right there is so powerful. And I get excited. I get excited about just hearing a testimony and seeing a person's growth. Like, you know, for you to be able to come through so many traumatic things and to be a light, and then your daughters to be the representation of your growth, right? You are a representation of your growth, but your kids is a representation of your growth and the work that you're putting in, you know. And then you spoke about that part about your kids seeing you cry. I think that is so powerful within itself, because I know for me that's not something that I saw growing up, right? And then I then cried in the corner, and I was in a room with two sisters, right? I was in a room with my two sisters, and they probably didn't know what I was going through at all, and I probably didn't share what I was going through at all, you know, because that's not what I saw. I didn't see vulnerability, right? So with my kids, I showed them vulnerability, but I also showed them growth, right? I also showed them consistency. I also showed them, you know, how to navigate emotions and feelings. Like with my son, I tell him, you want to cry? Go ahead, go in the room, have your moment, and we'll talk about it, you know, allowing that space for them to know that God put an emotion in you. It's for you to feel that emotion, address that emotion. Every feeling needs to be addressed. The good feelings, the happy feelings, the sad feelings. And when we don't address them, then we suppress them. And it's like a child that's not getting attention. Then you start to seek that negative attention. So it's so important for us to address all those feelings that we have inside of us. And like I said in the beginning, and the great part that you were able to do was putting a name to it. If you don't know, go seek help. Go seek help. If you're keep feeling stuck, she talked about feeling stuck. If you're steady feeling stuck and you're hitting that brick wall, you have to go seek help. Like I said, it's just like when you're feeling something in your body and you go to the doctor, you're feeling something in your mouth bothering you, you go to the dentist. The same thing you have to do with your heart. You have to do that with your heart and your soul, because as women, we carry our traumas in our stomach. And a lot of us, our bowels get messed up. We get these cramps and we get these pains and we don't know where it's coming from. Men, they carry trauma in their chest. That's why they are, always having heart attacks, or they feel like they about to have heart attacks, or their chest is feeling tight, because that's where they hold that pain at. And the more we are able to tap into it, the more we're able to be healthy and live longer life. And like you said, that power of the village, when you start to tell your story, it's so crazy because you're doing that healing for yourself, but you are really helping 100 other people heal. You are helping 100 other people heal, because there's, like you said, especially if you're in the city of Philadelphia or you're in a city like Philadelphia where there is constant trauma. I literally said that to my teachers today. I said, listen, you cannot continue to come in here and not feel your feelings, because it bleeds on our kids. It bleeds on our kids, and our kids are already, feeling their own feelings and dealing with their own traumas. And this is supposed to be their safe space, and they read all of that, right? What your kids read from you. It might not even been times when you was actively teaching, but your presence alone was teaching them something. It was showing them something. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, I just want my educators and people that are in those positions to be mindful of. We have to heal ourselves so that we really can heal our community. Any other tips that you want to share about complex trauma? How can people connect with you if they want to learn more about complex trauma, or just even get resources about complex trauma? Because you said you did some assessments. What were some of those assessments, if you could share?
Well, a lot of the things I just did was research. For me, with the self-reflection, I'm somebody that can be totally honest with myself. If I act the way, I'm gonna say to maybe I'm like that. You know what I'm saying? But what I had to realize was it wasn't okay to be like that. No, it wasn't okay to be like that, is when I started to change. So it's like a lot of, it's just self-reflection. It's just self-reflection. Like, if you have been through any trauma, rape, molestation, abandonment, neglect, abuse, you've ever been through loss of someone that you love dearly, if you've been through any of that thing, you have to heal some part of you. It's some part of your heart, your soul that needs to be healed. And when we ignore that, that's when the problem come in. So when even if you experience two traumas, that's complex. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And those who have been through those complex trauma as a child, the makeup of your mind is totally different than where it should. And I can attest to that because I'm somebody who a couple of years ago I wouldn't forgive nothing. I'm somebody a couple of years ago, if you was to step to me or you was to say one bad things to me, we was fighting. But I had to research that. Why am I so aggressive? Why do I shy away from people? Why do everything that I did that I started to not like about myself? You know what I'm saying? Because when you go through traumas and you have certain characteristics, I don't know about everybody, but I know that I didn't feel like those characteristics made me a good person. And knowing that I have a good heart, you know what I'm saying? I want the best for everybody, that didn't match with my character.
Yeah.
Saying they didn't match up. I wasn't walking what I was talking. You know what I'm saying? So once I realized that, I just started, just researching why am I so aggressive? And then when I researched it, how do I fix it? That was the next thing. How do I fix it? And that's the how came in right about the time where I started working out on the field and I met Will. And that's when the how started, it's really started, the universe started doing what it does.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just, for me, it was a lot of research. It wasn't like, no test I did. It was really, that self-realization. That self-realization that the way that I act is not okay. The way
Yeah.
at people is not okay. You know, people used to call me, "Oh, you're a firecracker." I'm not no firecracker, but I was a firecracker. I was waiting to go boom, okay? Like, and just realizing that and realizing this is not going to make me a better person. And you know, the funny thing is, what was the realest visual of that? It was my youngest daughter. She is a mirror of me, you know. So when I seen her aggression, you know what I'm saying? I said, why she act like that? They like she act just like you. Okay, I gotta fix that. I got that. I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? So now I didn't even put it on her. I started fixing it about me. You know what I'm saying? I started fixing what was wrong with me, and in turn, it trickled down. Because, like you said, once we heal, everything connected to us will heal too. You know what I'm saying? When we hurt, everything that's connected to us will hurt. So it's just a lot of, you know, self reflection, self realization. You know, we know when we not right. We know when we wrong. You know, when we know when our actions aren't conducive to us being the best person that we can be. We know this, but it that we have a choice, and it takes for us to choose the change. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what it really is. Is no, like I said, there's no test. You know what I'm saying, that you can actually take. I just feel as though it's a real lot of self-realization and being honest with yourself.
It's a Sarah Jakes sermon or speech that she did, The Breaking Point. Um, and when I heard the breaking point is basically when you get to that point when you're ready to break. And as Muslims, you know, it was my understanding of prayer of the different prostrations that we make. And when you hit that floor and you don't have nothing else left in you and you don't have nothing else left to give. And you said this, right? You asked for this understanding and God started to align things for you. So even when we say it's hard, it's not hard. It's about how, right? Because when you ask for it, God will start to, it's like Google, right? Google or Instagram, you talk about something, the next thing you know, it's popping up on your timeline. You getting notifications about it, you know? So it's that same thing. That's what God will do for you, right? If you really in your heart, a heart is praying and saying, God, I want to heal. I want something different. I want to change this. Like you said, my actions is not lining up to what my heart is feeling. God is going to put the tools in place for you. He's going to align you with certain people. He's going to have people pulling you into different places and different situations that's really going to want you to heal. But it's really when you get to that breaking point, it's really when you're at that point where you just get in your life and you just realizing like enough is enough and I don't have anything else and I'm tired, right? I'm tired. I'm ready to hit the floor because that's what we do, right? When you tired, you want to ball up in a corner, you want to hit the floor, you know, and that's like for me, that's when it is so crazy. That's when I've been Muslim all my life. And I really never understood the whole prostration thing. Like, you know, I did it because I'm Muslim. But when that part hit and somebody said when you hit the floor because you don't have nothing else to give, and even when you think of Christians, how they pray, you know, Christians at nighttime, they get down on their knees and they pray, right? You don't have anything else. So that's what I think about when I heard the breaking point. When you don't have anything else left in you, God is going to show you the way and put you in the right alignment for the tools that are necessary for your growth. But you have to get to that breaking point. And I say that because, like I said, a lot of us have been on the journey of healing and trying to be on this journey of understanding. And sometimes we don't make it all the way through. But know that when you get there, and all of the tools that you learn in finding your village. You have to find your village. I always say that God did not create us by ourselves. He created Adam and Eve, and from there he created us amongst the family. But then he created us amongst the community. So it's not always going to be your blood people that's going to be your village. You know, you just have to be willing to seek those people. So I just thank you for being amongst my village. I thank you for being willing to come and share your testimony, come and share your tips and tools, and then also just be a light and be a vessel and be an advocate for those that are experiencing complex trauma. I got to find a way for you to get in because literally I was talking to a student today and I just couldn't understand the choices that she was making, but I told her I had to get to the point where I was like, well, let me let you know who I am, right? Take the dean aside, you looking at me as doing a job. And I told her, like, I read people. I said, there's something behind your eyes that's telling me that you holding something in, that you suffering with something, that you battling with something, that you fighting against something, and that is deeper than what we see, and it's deeper. The mom and dad issues, your mom and dad holding you accountable for something, it's deeper than that. And the tears just started watering in her eyes. And then the more and more we talked, the more and more she released a little bit, because I'm just getting to know her. And the one thing I said to her was that she doesn't take accountability, and she is a manipulator. She went back into class and she was able to take accountability for the first time. And I had 15 conversations with her. This is my first week in school. But in that moment of me just tapping into the truth and me saying, like, I see something behind all of that. And like you said earlier, they don't want to suffer in silence. They don't want to, hold on to what's really going on. They're just looking for that safe space, because a lot of our traumas come from the people that are closest to us. So it's hard to build trust. But once you know that person is for you, trust and believe the relief will come, and you have to be willing to relieve, and just be willing to trust, and also be willing to stand in your truth, because once you stand in your truth, can't nobody take anything away from you. Can't nobody break you down. Can't nobody tear you apart, because you have already accepted all of those things, all of those hurtful things. And like you said, the pain and healing is different than the pain and your traumas. So I thank you. This was so wonderful. I gotta go to bed for y'all. I do. But I need you all to drop some flowers, drop some gems, because she dropped some gems tonight. She is blossoming, and you are just a light to the community. And I'm so grateful that I had a chance to meet you. And I'm so grateful that now the village has a chance to meet you and get all of this greatness, and just, hear about how you can come out on the other side. What you've been through do not determine who you are. What you're showing the world who you are. You have a chance to change the narrative. You have a chance to write your story. I always used to say on Testimony Tuesday, are you going to let somebody else tell your story, or you want to tell your story? So I appreciate you coming and sharing your truth, and sharing your honesty, and sharing your testimony, and just being vulnerable enough to share this with us, and realizing that this is your purpose, right? This is your purpose. And God put something in you, and you said, this is not for me anymore. This is to help others. And again, I love what you are doing with your children. Our next generation, like I said, stop counting them out. Okay. Stop counting them out, because they are really seeking something different. And the more we show them something different, we know that they have unlimited opportunities. So many of my youth, young men and women jump and they watch my live. And I'm so proud for their growth and their mindset and their shifting. And even though, like you said, we may see the aggressive behaviors, we may see that, you also got to see their heart, and you got to see what's really underneath, and be able to help them pull that out, because that's who they really want to be. They don't want to be what we're seeing, and they're not lost souls. They're just seeking
Yeah.
help, and a lot of times they see negative intention, and that's what they see.
That's all they see. So that really goes back to, what we were saying earlier. So what everything we know, we've learned. You know what I'm saying? So these kids don't know how to properly express what they're feeling, because they've never seen anyone properly express how they're feeling. They see people that's hurt, and they express it in anger. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be the house. We have to show them that there is a way, there is a possibility. You know what I'm saying? There is a way. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the things that I struggle with, and one of the reasons why I thought about taking my life sometimes, because I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Mm,
I knew I didn't want to be a statistic for all my life. You know what I'm saying? I knew I didn't, but I didn't know how I was going to change, And I know a lot of these kids are so stuck. And the crazy thing is, they have so many talents. So many talents. That could have been anything. So many talents these kids have. And none of it is nurtured. You know what I'm saying? None of it is. None of that is fed. So it's just like we gotta teach them how. We gotta show them how. Is a proper way to heal, and is a way to get out. Is a way to get.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We just gotta show them how.
And it's so crazy that you said that. I had a young man just running up and down the hall, just play fighting, just straight up in my face, right? Just every time I turned around. And then I pulled him in my office and we had a conversation. And, we started talking. And then I said, well, what do you do? Like, what are you into? And he said, I just, run up and down the block. So then I was like, okay, he doesn't have anything. And then I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to do basketball. Mind you, before this, I done already had 10 conversations with him. Just by asking him what do he want to do, his whole mindset shifts. Because like you said, if you don't ask what they want to be, if you don't give them vision of what they can be, then they're, like you said, they're only doing what they see. And we already know what some of our people are coming from, like your mother and your father, and those experiences that you saw, but you wanted to know how, and you had the willpower, and like I said, for you to use your purpose to be able to be that light for the community. I commend you, and I'm thankful to God for using you in that way, because so many kids need to hear your testimony. So many kids need to hear your story, because so many of them are struggling. And I'm a strong believer, if we can stop it at an earlier age, then they don't have to go through life so long trying to figure it out. And there is so many kids that are suicidal. We don't think that it happens in our community, but it does. I have lost 2 kids to suicide. So that is real. The last one was a 6th grader. The other one was a 9th grader. They both were young ladies. And then I know of another young man that also committed suicide. So it's real. It does happen in our communities. We have a lot of kids that cut themselves. So parents, please look at your child. Pay attention to your child, your nieces, your nephews, those around you, because it takes one moment, but they don't know anything else. And like you said, they live in that shame where they don't want to be here anymore. And it's real. And the more that we're able to be aware, the more we're able to be loving, the more we're able to be a role model. It is powerful. Yes, it's real. We don't think that these things are happening in our communities, and we don't talk about it as much, but it happens. It happens, especially the cutters. There is a lot of cutters in our community who cut themselves, because they want that sense of pain, and they feel that sense of loss. Um,
It's a control thing. I know when I did it, it was a control thing. If I'm gonna feel pain, I'm gonna feel pain the way I want to take the pain that away from my focus off of the pain that they're giving me, and I'm gonna control the pain that I have. And I was doing it for a while. And it was crazy. I even went to the hospital, and because I was doing it before I had my oldest son, and I told the man, he like, oh, let me see you cut yourself. I said, no, I fell on some nails. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And me even being 14, pregnant, all these cuts on my arms, nobody still never tried the nothing. Like, so we gotta be, that's why I'm here.
Yes, and I appreciate my village. I literally started this because I felt like part of my testimony was like, do anybody else care? Do you not see what's happening around us? Like, our babies are fighting for their life right now, and you're
literally,
just wasting space.
literally, like, nice. Literally,
Fighting for their lives.
we got
They say our kids don't have nothing to be hurt by, or they just downplay it. And I just pray that our community sees this and can really understand that our kids are hurting, and like Coach Ye share, the long sleeves, the wearing the hoodies, the wearing the sweatshirts, be conscious of it. I haven't known too many young men to be cutters. I don't, theirs might be being in the streets and being a killer. That might be their relief. You never know what it actually can look like, but these are all attention seeking behaviors. Listen to the first word, attention. They need attention. And a lot of times we respond to attention seeking behaviors in a negative way versus with love. And that's really what they're seeking. They're seeking love. They don't want our pushback. They want our love. And like, it's so funny because me and my sister was talking about the most misunderstood kids, the most kids that you feel are disrespectful or the non-compliance always because my babies and my proudest moments, because again, they just want love. They want somebody to see underneath the behaviors and the layers and the aggressiveness and the disrespectfulness and the
Help.
defensive,
For help.
because
Yes.
they've been hurt, because they have this mistrust, because they've been taken advantage of, because our young men, like she said, they're being molested. Our young men are being molested. So we cannot count them out either. The trauma goes both ways. So just making sure that you are being a vessel to your community and you are using your personal development for yourself first, because you have to heal yourself before you can show up for other people. But just being mindful that God did not create us for ourselves. Like she said, her pain, her purpose, her journey, her testimony was to be a light for other people. That's how God created us. So you cannot be selfish with this. You have to give. But I gotta go, y'all, because I'm wiggling and shaking. And this was a great live. Make sure you share this out to a family, a friend, tell a friend and tell a friend to come and get these jewels and this information. Shout out to all of my sisters that will be joining me in Minneapolis for the Power Conference. I am super excited. So stay tuned. We will be bringing you all content, and we'll be back next week with some more lives. Check out our Testimony Tuesday, our We See You Wednesday, and our Thursday Tips and Tools. You all have a great night, everybody. Thank you again, Chop.
Thank you.